transferred to Manchester United today.
Football predictions.
If Power Rangers nil, Ipswich Town 1.
Football predictions.
Hi, it's Peter Guest and the Moose, and we are here for another episode of the footballpredictions.net podcast, and we're covering Bundesliga games for the 18th to 20th of October 2024. What have we got, Moose?
Yeah, we're gonna start at Dortmund, who takes on St. Pauli. Leverkusen takes on Eintracht Frankfurt. Hoffenheim takes on Bochum. Augsburg travels to Freiburg. Leipzig travels to Mainz. Borussia Mönchengladbach takes on Heidenheim. Bayern Munich takes on Stuttgart. Holstein Kiel takes on Union Berlin. And finally, Werder Bremen travels to Wolfsburg.
You can also see the details for the matches we're about to discuss in this podcast on the website footballpredictions.net, along with the fixtures from just about every other football competition in the world from A to Z.
Yes, and on our website, it will show you where to watch the games on local broadcast channels, plus video streaming services, as well as team news and match shots from local bookmakers.
Yeah, and if you look in the description of this podcast episode, you'll find direct clickable links to all of the matches that we're about to discuss. Geolocation and live streaming rules apply. 18 plus, gamble aware. Let's look at those upcoming matches. The first one, Borussia Dortmund, who are 7th in the table, taking on St. Pauli, who are 15th. It kicks off on Friday, 18th of October at 7:30 UK time in the evening. Go to footballpredictions.net for your local kickoff time. Has all the betting odds and the broadcast streaming options available in your local area. And of course, this one is broadcast like all the Bundesliga games on Bet365. If you're new to them, use our bonus code FP365. Give us a roundup of what's going on with Dortmund and St. Pauli.
Yeah, Dortmund fell to a shock defeat before the international break at Union Berlin. Prior to that, they showed some strong home form, though, by beating Celtic 7-1 in the Champions League and Bochum 4-2 in the Bundesliga, two matches that we predicted correctly. And prior to that, they actually had a 4-2 home win against Heidenheim as well. But yeah, away from home, 2 defeats in a row for Dortmund now. However, it's at home that Dortmund have their strength and have scored lots of goals. Now, it's a different story for St. Pauli. They had a surprising win at Freiburg, but then just before the international break, they then lost 3-0 at home to Mainz. So very unpredictable team, St. Pauli. That win at Freiburg was their first win of the season. They are sitting 15th, just 4 points from 6 games, going into this game against a Dortmund team away from home. That's going to be a very tricky test for St. Pauli.
Yeah, we think it will probably be a bit too tricky. And Dortmund at home, they're very difficult to beat, aren't they? We've got them here as being definitely the ones to win, but not by a massive margin. Our prediction for this one is actually both teams to score. We think that's going to happen. You can get odds on that at the moment of, let's have a quick look, 1.8, so fairly healthy. But if you want a Dortmund win only, you can only get odds of 1.27, talking decimal odds here. So yeah, they're definitely odds on in a big way.
Yeah.
St. Pauli, on the other hand, not looking too flash away from home. So, but if you did want to gamble on St. Pauli win, you get 9.5, massive odds. The draw is currently sitting at 5.5 odds. But yeah, for our correct score prediction, like I said, we think St. Pauli will get a goal, but we think they'll be outscored and outclassed. And 2-1 is the prediction. Odds of that, if you want to try a correct score of 2-1, is 8.5 odds. Our poll on our site, so go to the page and the clickable links for this game. You'll see in the podcast. 73% of you think that Dortmund currently will win, and only 16% St. Pauli, with the other 11% a draw. So yeah, let's see what happens. We're going for a 2-1 home win to Dortmund. Next up, we've got Bayer Leverkusen currently in 5th. This would be a good one. They're up against Frankfurt, who are in 3rd. So it's kicking off on Saturday, 19th of October, 2:30 p.m. UK time. Do visit the page on footballpredictions.net and you'll be able to find your local kickoff time, the betting odds, and all broadcast streaming channels tailored to your location for this match. It is being broadcast live streamed on Bet365. Use our bonus code FP365 if you're new to them. And these two teams, I can't see many losses recently, if
No,
any.
it's two teams who've done very well, has had a very good start to the season, both in Europe and in the Bundesliga. Like you said, Leverkusen currently sitting fifth. Frankfurt is third. And if we start with the away team here, Frankfurt, they had a 3-3 draw with Bayern Munich just before we went into the international break. It was a game where we said both teams to score on over 2.5 goals. And there were certainly plenty of goals in that game. It ended 3-3. And then prior to that, Frankfurt in their most recent away games, they beat Besiktas 3-1 away from home in the Europa League, and Holstein Kiel, they beat 4-2 in the most recent Bundesliga game. We said 2-1 in that game, so Frankfurt to win over 2.5 goals and both teams to score. So we were bang on with that prediction, apart from the correct score. Now, when it comes to Leverkusen, they are in good form, but their most recent game was a 2-2 draw with Holstein Kiel, which was slightly surprising. However, It was not surprising to us that there were going to be goals in this game because we had both teams to score and over 2.5 goals. But yeah, we had also Leverkusen. There was probably a game that they were looking forward to win, because prior to that game, Kiel had only drawn 1 and lost 4. But at home, Leverkusen has been strong. They beat AC Milan in the Champions League. We predicted that, and we predicted also in their previous Bundesliga game to that game a win against Wolfsburg. We said 2-1. It ended 4-3 in that game, and then in between was a away draw, a good away draw, because that was at Bayern Munich. So Leverkusen and Frankfurt, the only two teams to take points off Bayern Munich this season in the Bundesliga, and then they're going head to head here. But we actually think that there's going to be quite a clear winner.
Yeah, we do. And there's good reason for that too. History seems to be on Leverkusen's side. Talk about Frankfurt. They haven't won against Bayer Leverkusen when they've played them away from home in the last 10 matches in the league. So that's a very poor run of away results. Even though they've been undefeated themselves in their last 2 away league games, that's Frankfurt. Leverkusen are also undefeated in their last 2 home games. So, yeah, we're going to give the edge to Leverkusen. We think they'll carry on that winning home form against them. And we're not the only ones that think that. 65% of you in the poll on our site also agree. They think that Leverkusen will win. 21% like Frankfurt, with the rest a draw. We're actually going for a 3-0 home win, really kind of comprehensive. And so that correct score, if you're interested in correct scores, you can get odds of 3-0 at 11 to 1. So pretty handy. But again, it's a bit of a risk with that sort of bet. So we actually are recommending for this one over 2.5 goals. So we think it should hopefully be a bit of a goal fest. Odds for over 2.5 goals, 1.4 in decimal. And if you just like a Leverkusen win, also odds on, you can get them for 1.44 odds. For what should be another home win. Frankfurt are out at 6.5 odds with a draw. 6.5 decimal odds, and the draw is 5. So it's heavily favoured in the betting as well for Leverkusen, and that's how we think it will go as well. So there will finally be a loss for Frankfurt, but we'll see how it goes. Next up, we have got 1899 Hoffenheim, who are 16th, who play VfL Bochum, who are 18th in the table. Kicks off on Saturday, the 19th of October at 2:30 p.m. UK time. On our page on footballpredictions.net, you will find your localized kickoff time, or the odds, of course, and your local TV channels and streaming services. One of those is Bet365. You can watch that live streamed. If you're new to them, haven't got an account, you can watch it subscription free. Just use our bonus code FP365 if you're new to them. A bit of a different story for these two sides, isn't it? Because whereas the last game there weren't many losses or draws, in this one there are quite a few between these two.
Yeah, both stuck at the bottom, well, Bochum certainly is just 1 point all season for Bochum in the Bundesliga after 6 games, also conceded 14 goals. We got one of the worst defenses in the league, but they're also struggling a little bit in front of goal. 6 goals in 6 games. Last time out resulted in a 3-1 home defeat to Wolfsburg. We did say Wolfsburg were going to win that game. And in their previous away game, which was at Dortmund, always a tricky game to go to Dortmund and have to play them. We said that Dortmund were going to beat Bochum 3-1. It ended 4-2. So again, outcome and goals were correct in that game. Bochum did pick up a point against Holstein Kiel in another game where we set both teams to score in the 2-2. But yeah, apart from that, away from home, it's not been looking good for Bochum. They lost at Freiburg. They lost at Leipzig at the beginning of the season. And all these outcomes we have predicted has to be said. The Freiburg game, we actually even predicted down to the correct score. We said Freiburg were going to beat Bochum 2-1, and it ended 2-1. Now, Hoffenheim, probably a little bit more surprising to find them in the bottom 3 at the moment, because they're actually playing in the Europa League at the same time. And prior to playing Stuttgart, where they were extremely unlucky, Hoffenheim, because they were actually leading 1-0 until the 99th minute. And then Stuttgart equalized and got a 1-1 draw. That could have been a second win of the season for Hoffenheim, but it wasn't. That was fairly lucky for our punters, because we had both teams to score in that game. So a 1-1 draw was a good outcome for our tipsters. But yeah, prior to that, in the previous home game, they beat Dynamo Kiev 2-0 in the Europa League. And what did we say? We said they were going to beat them 2-0. So we had that one correct. In the Bundesliga, the most recent home game was at home to Werder Bremen. That ended in a 4-3 defeat, over 2.5 goals we had there. And then a draw at Midtjylland in the Europa League, a score draw, which we also predicted. We said 2-2, it ended 1-1. But as it goes for goals, both teams to score, and the draw, we were correct. The defeat at Union Berlin and at home to Leverkusen were also 2 outcomes that we predicted here in Football Predictions. So yeah, it's not that we have been too surprised by how Hoffenheim or Bochum have started the season, but to find Hoffenheim in the bottom 3 has been a little bit surprising, and they'll probably, if there is a team where they'll be looking to want to turn their fortunes around, it will probably be against Bochum. Has to be said also for Hoffenheim, this season, they've not had a game that has ended with no both teams to score. They've literally had both teams to score in each of them 6 matches this season in the Bundesliga. And that's a bit of a leading into our prediction for this one.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, we have gone for a both teams to score prediction in the game. 1.41, that's the odds you can get on that at the moment. Check the page on footballpredictions.net and you'll see what the odds are at the moment. And but in terms of who we think will win, or if it's going to be a draw, we like Hoffenheim to win this one. As mentioned, statistic about Bochum is that they haven't won away from home in the last 4 matches in the league. So, yeah, it's not a good sign for them. So we assume that is also going to happen here again. For a scoreline, we've gone for a 2-1. And the odds you can get for that are 9 in decimal, 8-1. Looking at the Hoffenheim to win, just as a prediction, your odds on that are 1.7, so they're pretty heavily backed. And in our poll on the site, you can scroll sort of halfway down the page and you'll see it and participate in it. 66% of you also believe Hoffenheim will win, with only 17% liking Bochum at the moment, with the other 17% opting for a draw. But yeah, we think it'll be a Hoffenheim win. By the way, the draw you can get at odds of 4.5, and for a Bochum win you can get at 4.2. So yeah, those are possibilities, but the both teams to score is the one we like the best, even though you'll only be able to get 1.41 odds on that one. But moving on, we've now got Freiburg, who are all the way up in 4th at the moment, who take on Augsburg, who are down in 13th. And this one kicks off on Saturday, the 19th of October at 2:30 p.m. UK time. Obviously 3:30 in Germany, go to our page on footballpredictions.net, which you can find in the description of this podcast, for the local kickoff time, betting odds, and the broadcast streaming options available to you in your area, one of which, if you're outside of Germany anyway, should be, if you can receive it, Bet365, and use our bonus code FP365 if you're not with them already, and they've got a fantastic streaming service with matches from all around the world. Now, we had both of these teams coming off good results.
Yes, Freiburg, indeed, they were at Werder Bremen. And although Werder Bremen is kind of mid-table at the moment in the Bundesliga, they'd only lost one game prior to this. They went away with a 1-0 win, and that was coming off the back of that 3-0 home defeat to St. Pauli, which was St. Pauli's only win of the season so far. So yeah, Freiburg a bit unpredictable. Prior to that, they had another away win at Heidenheim, and then at home they beat Bochum 2-1. We had 2-1 in that game as a correct score prediction, and of course the first game of the season they also surprisingly beat Stuttgart. They beat them 3-1. Their only defeat in between was at a predicted defeat by us as well, was at Bayern Munich, where most teams would struggle to get away with anything. But yeah, overall a solid start by Freiburg with 4 wins and 2 defeats. They're sitting in 4th, not scoring that many goals, but at the same time a solid start. And at home, apart from that Freiburg game, they had some solid results there against Bochum and Stuttgart. Augsburg as well, like you said, they had a 2-1 win at home to Gladbach, and actually although we did say 2-2, we did have both teams to score and over 2.5 goals in that game as our main tip. So yeah, keep an eye out for not just the outcome, but also like the goals market and what we're predicting on those. But yeah, there was a solid 2-1 win for Augsburg. It gave them a little bit of a gap down to the bottom 3, which I'm sure they'll be happy about. However, Augsburg do like to concede goals. They have one of the worst defenses in the league. They lost prior to that Gladbach game 4-0 at Leipzig, 3-2 at home to Mainz. They then had a win against St. Pauli, but then they had another hefty away defeat at Heidenheim, 4-0. So yeah, if we look at the 2 away games that Augsburg has actually had this season, they've lost them both 4-0.
Terrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
And in their last 6 league games, they've conceded 15 goals.
Yeah.
So Augsburg, they've clearly got a room for improvement at the back, but we can't see it happening here. In fact, they're without an away win for the last 6 league matches. And to boot, they have not had a win against Freiburg away from home, as is this one, in the last 9 matches in the league. So it's not a very good away record, really, and we can't see it changing here. We have gone for a 3-1 home win. Odds of that, if you go for a correct score, are actually 13. That's 12-1. And regarding the other odds, we think they may score, even though we think they'll concede a lot. So we are actually favouring both teams to score prediction for this one. Odds there 1.63. But actually, if you want to go for a Freiburg to win, you can get better odds, 1.73. So take your pick between those. But Freiburg to win is what we think is probably slightly better because it shades it with the odds there, and given the history between these two. But yeah, if you want to go for an Augsburg win, 4.75 at the odds and 3.75 for the draw. But yeah, regarding our poll, and do vote in our poll because it gives you a good overall view of what people think will happen. 68% of you think it'll be a Freiburg home win, and 15% Augsburg, with the rest going for a draw. Yeah, and so if you go on the webpage now, you'll see our predicted lineups there as well. Right, let's crack on with the next game, which is Mainz, who are 10th in the table, who are playing Leipzig, who are actually 2nd at the moment, doing very well. Kicks off on Saturday, 19th of October, 2:30 p.m. in the UK. Go to our page on footballpredictions.net and you'll find your local kickoff time, all the local betting odds and broadcast streaming channels available in your area. Bet365 is one of those. You should have a look at them if you haven't already, because they broadcast live stream a lot of these games in the world, including pretty much all, I think, of the Bundesliga games. You can watch on there, subscription free. Use our bonus code FP365 if you're new to them. And looking at these two, they've also both come off wins in the Bundesliga in their last game. I know it was a couple of weeks ago, but that's good results for them.
Yeah, definitely. Leipzig went to Heidenheim and beat them 1-0 in an outcome that we had predicted. Actually, overall, Leipzig's start to the Bundesliga has been very good. 4 wins and 2 draws and a goal difference of 9-2. The only conceded goals early in the season when they played Leverkusen away and won 3-2. They've actually kept clean sheets in the other 5 matches in the Bundesliga this season. However, that did include 2 draws. If we look at Leipzig's previous home game in the Bundesliga, they thrashed Augsburg 4-0. However, prior to that, it was 2 0-0 matches against St. Pauli and Union Berlin. And then bear in mind that the 1-0 at Heidenheim, Leipzig do seem to keep a tight ship at the back, but they are not necessarily scoring a load of goals. Like, they've played 6 games and scored 9 goals, and 7 of those goals have come in the matches where they beat Augsburg 4-0 and Leverkusen 3-2. So it's quite tight when we look at Leipzig. If we look at Mainz, they will probably be quite happy with the beginning that they've had to this season. 8 points from 6, 2 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses. 2 of those wins have actually come in the last 3 matches. However, away from home, Mainz away from home has won 2 and drawn 1, but at home they've lost 2 and drawn 1. So it's they're going a little bit against the tide. Obviously, normally teams are better at home than they are away, but yeah, so far no luck at home for Mainz, and we think it's probably going down that route again.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, it's interesting with Leipzig and at Mainz because they have not sort of beaten Mainz away from home in the last 4 league matches. So, yeah, they'll be keen to stop that. But having said that, they've been impressive away from home. They haven't been beaten in the last 9 away league matches, Leipzig. So, yeah, they've been patchy this season, haven't they? But, we think they will get over the line in this one. Particularly as Mainz are without a home win in the last 3 matches in the league, like you mentioned.
Yeah,
kind of good away, but not so good at home. So yeah, that isn't good. But yeah, it's a tricky one. So we've actually gone for our tip here is both teams to score. Odds of that you can get at 1.58. If you did like a Leipzig to win, then you can get odds of 1.85 on that. But yeah, we're going for a 2-1 away win in this game. And if you like a correct score of 2-1 to Leipzig, then you can get odds of 8.5 at the moment. I see that's on Bet365. Like I said, come to the page to see the updated odds on footballpredictions.net. You'll also be able to see the predicted lineups and all the stats and everything. But we also have a poll, and at the moment it's kind of between 54% of you currently voting for Leipzig to win, 32% Mainz, and 14 odd percent looking at a draw. And actually, of all those people, all of them think it'll be a score draw. So yeah, it kind of says that both teams to score looks like probably the most likely one that you might want to consider in that game. Anyway, shall we crack on to the next game, which is Borussia Mönchengladbach, 14th, not doing well, up against Heidenheim, who are up just above them in 9th. Kicks off on Saturday, 19th of October at 2:30, and that's UK time. But if you go to our page on footballpredictions.net, which you can find in the description, you'll also be able to find your local kickoff time, betting odds, and broadcast streaming channels for this match, one of which is Bet365. Do use them if you can, because you can just deposit any amount of currency and or have placed a bet in the last 24 hours, and you can watch it subscription free. So, and you can even withdraw that money, the deposit, afterwards. So basically you can kind of get it for nothing. And use our bonus code FP365 if you're going to join them. Both of these teams are different from the last one, coming off a loss.
They're both coming off a loss. It's also 2 teams who do not like to draw. There's been no draw in matches where these 2 teams have played this season. It's actually only Freiburg, who's the only other team in the Bundesliga so far who's not been down for a draw so far. Gladbach last time out would not be happy. They lost at Augsburg, probably in a game where they should have picked up points, but in a game where we did have both teams to score and over 2.5 goals. It ended 2-1 to Augsburg in that game. Now, in Gladbach's last home game, we said 1-0 against Union Berlin, and it ended 1-0 to Gladbach. Prior to that, we predicted that Frankfurt were beating Gladbach. They beat them 2-0. We said both teams to score on over 2.5 goals against Stuttgart, which was the home game prior to Union Berlin and the Frankfurt game. That ended 3-1 Stuttgart. Under 2.5 goals in the away game at Bochum. It ended 2-0 to Gladbach. And finally, the first game of the season, we had Leverkusen down for a 2-1 win at Gladbach. It ended 3-2. But again, outcome and goals were correct in that one. So our predictions on Gladbach's been pretty solid when it comes to goals and the outcomes. But I would say goals in particular. When we look at Heidenheim, they are also playing in the Conference League. So just before they had that defeat at home to Leipzig, which we predicted, we said Leipzig were going to win that game. They beat Ljubljana from Slovenia 2-1. We said 2-0, but again, we had the outcome in that game. They did actually go away to Mainz and win their last away game. So their most recent away game was a win at Mainz 2-0. But yeah, then prior to that, a 3-0 home defeat and a 4-2 away defeat to Dortmund. So a very mixed bag for Heidenheim. But overall, these are two teams that do not like to draw. And I think that's, again, leading our prediction a little bit. We are picking a winner here.
Yeah, we are. And it's the home team, which you probably can't look past at the moment. But our tip is for under 2.5 goals, because we think it will be a low-scoring game, so 1 or 2-0. Odds of that are quite good. 2.3 you can get for under 2.5 goals. For a Gladbach win, the odds are, this is what we're predicting, Gladbach win, 1.85. We think it'll actually be low scoring, like I said. We're going for 1-0 for the home team, and odds of that are currently 9.5, if you like a correct score.
Yeah.
Gladbach at the moment in our poll, 50% of people think they'll win. But only 15% like Heidenheim to come away with the 3 points, with quite a hefty 35% thinking it might be a draw. So maybe a 0-0 or 1-1, that would do us as well for that prediction.
Yep.
Let's see how it goes. Could be a tricky one, that one. Next, though, we have the mighty Bayern Munich, of course, sitting up in first position, who take on Stuttgart, who are down in 8th. It kicks off on Saturday. This is the evening game. 19th of October at 5:30 p.m., i.e. 6:30 p.m. German time. And if you go to our page, of course, which you'll find in the clickable links of this podcast, on footballpredictions.net, you can find your local kickoff time, all the betting odds and the broadcast streaming options available to you in your area. You can watch this one again on Bet365. Use our bonus code FP365 if you're going to join them, and you can live stream this and all the Bundesliga games.
Yeah.
Now, surprisingly, leading into this, Bayern Munich didn't win.
No, before the international break, Bayern actually went on a run with 3 matches with no wins. They drew at Frankfurt in the most recent Bundesliga game. However, again, we did say over 2.5 and both teams to score in that game. That do tend to be quite a lot of goals in the Bayern Munich games. Maybe apart from the 1-0 defeat at Aston Villa, of course. At home to Bayer Leverkusen, we also had both teams to score as our prediction, and it ended 1-1. And of course, prior to that, that was when Bayern was on this pretty crazy run with a 6-1 away win at Holstein Kiel, 9-2 home win against Dinamo Zagreb, and then a 5-0 win away to Werder Bremen. All matches where we predicted the outcome. And for the Zagreb and Kiel games, we predicted the goals as well. Now for Stuttgart, what's interesting about Stuttgart, and when we talk about the tip for this game in general, is what we need to notice is that Stuttgart, including the Champions League, has had both teams to score in all of their games. So they like to score goals and concede goals. That's where we've got Stuttgart at the moment. However, the last 3 results has actually been score draws. The 2 home matches against Hoffenheim and Prague both ended 1-1 before their last away match in the Bundesliga ended with a 2-2 draw at Wolfsburg. We were quite close on our prediction outcome prediction there, we had Stuttgart to win, but again, we had both teams to score and over 2.5 goals as the predictions for the goals market, and it ended 2-2. Stuttgart beat Dortmund 5-1. We had 2-1 for Stuttgart in that game. So again, we had the outcome, we had goals. And prior to that, we predicted the correct score of 3-1 when Stuttgart played at Real Madrid. So yeah, overall, two teams that really likes to score goals. We do think that, again, Bayern's going to be probably too strong for Stuttgart. But yeah, we also know that Stuttgart can score goals against pretty much any opponent.
Yeah, just looking at Bayern as well, in the last 6 games, they've smashed 24 goals past the opposition, but they've also conceded 8. I mean, which is not a lot really compared to the 24, but the point there is it's 3 times the amount, right? And that's kind of where we're headed with this one. We're going for a 3-1 win to Bayern at home. And if you do like a correct score prediction, you can get odds of 10 at the moment for that. That's 9-1 in fractional. So yeah, most people agree with us that it'll be a Bayern win. They're odds on. It's the odds you can get at the moment. Let's have a quick look. 1.36 for a Bayern win. So not many people. Well, unless you like a pretty sure win, we'll go for that. But slightly better. We've gone for the, as predicted, as mentioned just now by you, Moose. Both teams to score. Looks like it could be the one. So both teams to score. You can get, which we're predicting, we're tipping for this one, both teams to score 1.47, so slightly better than the Bayern Munich win. But yeah, it's quite low odds really, but 1.47 odds is what we think is probably the best one that you should look at for this one.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, on the poll, 3/4 of people think that Munich will get the win, and 16% believe Stuttgart can get a rare away win at Bayern. But yeah, we think it's going to be Bayern all the way, 3-1. And we stick to that one and see what happens. Next, we have Holstein Kiel, who are 17th in the league, way down, playing a pretty handy Union Berlin, who are up in 6th at the moment. This is a Sunday game, 20th of October, 2:30 p.m. kickoff. You can obviously, as I mentioned before, visit footballpredictions.net, the page on our site, and you can see the kickoff time, betting odds, and the broadcast streaming channels tailored to you for this match. And if you're outside of Germany, you can watch it on Bet365, being broadcast there. Use our bonus code FP365. Holstein Kiel have been having a bit of a torrid time of it, whereas Union Berlin, apart from one hiccup against Gladbach, have been doing pretty darn well.
Yeah, Union Berlin last season were probably a bit surprising because they were actually playing in the Champions League, but they nearly got relegated in the Bundesliga. Sorry, Guesty.
I'm just agreeing with you.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, Union Berlin has had a much better start to this season, not disrupted by any European competitions, just 1 defeat in 6, sitting on a solid, really solid defense. They got the second best defense in the league, the goal difference of 6-4, only conceded 4 goals in 6 games, which is quite something, because last time out they actually played Dortmund at home and they beat Dortmund 2-1 in that game. It has to be said that in the last away game at Gladbach, we predicted Gladbach to beat Union Berlin 1-0, and it ended 1-0 to Gladbach. At home to Hoffenheim, we predicted the outcome. We had Union Berlin to win. They won 2-1. At Leipzig, we actually had under 2.5 goals and no both teams to score, and it ended 0-0. So that could not have been much more of a safer under 2.5 and no both teams to score bet. And in the first home game of the season, we had Union Berlin to beat St. Pauli 1-0. So on the Union Berlin side, in terms of both the goals markets and the outcomes, our predictions have been really solid so far this season. When it comes to Holstein Kiel, promoted team, they only got 2 points so far. They can score goals, but they also like to concede goals. Last time out, they actually got a decent point at Leverkusen. They had a 2-2 draw, again in a game where probably most of our listeners, if they had listened to that podcast for the Bundesliga we actually said it was going to be a both teams to score game, which might have been a bit surprising considering Kiel's position in the league, but it actually ended 2-2. So that was a solid prediction. In Kiel's most recent home game, and in fact all of Kiel's home games this season has ended with defeats. And if we look at each individual game and our predictions for those, when they played Eintracht Frankfurt in the most recent home game, we said Eintracht Frankfurt were going to win 2-1. They won 4-2. So again, outcome and goals were correct in that one. When Bayern Munich visited, we said 3-1 Munich. It ended 6-1 Munich. But again, the outcome and the goals were correct. And when Wolfsburg went to Kiel, we said Wolfsburg were going to win 1-0. But they won 2-0. But again, that was under 2.5. No both teams to score. And a Wolfsburg win. So this is not just to say that go for both teams to score and over 2.5 goals, but we also go for the under market. And we see an opportunity in the under market again when we are talking goals in this game.
Yeah, we do. And going into this one, Holstein Kiel haven't won at home in the last 5 league matches. So that's not looking too good for them. It's giving an indicator of what we think is going to happen here as well. But if you look at the Union Berlin's conceding, they've only conceded 4 goals in the last 6 fixtures. So they're very tight at the back. Yeah. They've only scored 6 goals in those 6 games. So, yeah, it's like a bit of an average of a goal a game, well, an exact average of a goal a game, and don't concede much. So taking all that into account, we believe it will be a close one, and we think it'll be a 1-0 away win to Union Berlin. If you like a correct score prediction of 1-0 away, you get odds of 8 at the moment, so 7-1. But yeah, as you mentioned before, our tip here is under 2.5 goals. So that could be a 1-1, a 1-0, or a 1-0 each, either way. And odds of that you can get a 1.91. We think that's going to happen. So 1.91, pretty good. If you like a Union Berlin just to win in the win-draw-win market, you can get that at 2.15 odds at the moment. Yeah. People on our poll like Union Berlin to win as well, 65%. That's quite a lot. Yeah, think about an away win for them, and only 18% think a Holstein Kiel win. So go to our site, you'll see you can vote there yourself and see what the latest numbers are in terms of what people are thinking. Only 18% of people think a draw for that game. So next up, we have got Wolfsburg in 12th. This will be tight, versus Werder Bremen, 11th. Kicks off on the Sunday in the evening, 20th of October, 4:30 p.m. UK time, 5:30 in Germany. Go to our page on footballpredictions.net and you'll find your local kickoff time, the betting odds, and all the broadcast streaming options available to you in your area. Bet365 have this one on the live stream. Use our bonus code FP365 if you're new to them. They're quite close in the table, but you can't really see much difference between the two looking at their recent results, can you?
No, these two teams are very unpredictable. It is not been easy to predict these two teams this season, and that is not just saying that it's not to warn our punters of this match before we go into it, but there is a reason why they're mid-table, and that is because of the unpredictability and of course the mixed results that they've had so far this season, with Wolfsburg currently having 2 wins, 1 draw and 3 defeats, and Werder Bremen with 2 wins, 2 draws and 2 defeats. So a very mixed bag when we look at these two teams. Let's start with the home team, Wolfsburg, because actually they won their most recent game, which was at Bochum. So it's a team that you'd probably anticipate. I'm not going to say that any team should beat Bochum, but it's definitely a match that Wolfsburg would have been hopeful of picking up a win, and indeed pick up a win. Like we said as well, we had Wolfsburg on the outcome. Sorry. They won 3-1 at Bochum. Now, in the previous home match, they played Stuttgart, and obviously Stuttgart, they're doing okay. That ended as a 2-2, and we had both teams to score over 2.5 goals in that game. In their away game at Leverkusen, Wolfsburg fell to a 4-3 defeat, so a bit unlucky. But we did say that Leverkusen were going to win 2-1. So again, we had the outcome over 2.5 goals and both teams to score. in that game. But overall, Wolfsburg so far this season are still due a win at home, even though they have scored goals in all of their home games. They've still only managed to pick up that point against Stuttgart. But going into this game, they are coming with a point from the Stuttgart game and then 3 points from Bochum. Now, Werder Bremen, on the other hand, they've also lost. They've lost their 2 home games most recently. They've still not won at home, but away from home, they had that quite interesting win at Hoffenheim, because after 12 minutes, Werder Bremen was down 3-0, ended up beating Hoffenheim 4-3. So that was the most recent away win. Now, there has been an international break in between. This is almost 3 weeks ago. A lot of things can have happened between now and then. And obviously, Werder Bremen did not follow up on that win at Hoffenheim. They actually came home to play Freiburg and lost 1-0 in that game. Away game prior to Hoffenheim was at Mainz, which ended in a 2-1 win to Werder Bremen. Again, we had over 2.5 and both teams to score in that game. And Werder Bremen's first 2 games of the season ended in draws against Augsburg and Dortmund. So yeah, overall, this is a very mixed bag of results for both teams. It's very hard to say where these 2 teams are going to stand after the international break, but we do believe that there'll be a winner in this one.
Yeah, like you mentioned, maybe this is one that you might want to steer clear of because, there is a lot of unpredictability here. But we have to nail our colours to the mast for something, and we think it'd be a low scorer to add to the unpredictability. You can get odds of under 2.5 goals, which is what we've gone for here, at odds of 2.1 at the moment. We believe it will be a Wolfsburg win. We think they will get over the line. And so odds of that you can get at 2.1 at the moment. So yeah, we like a sort of a home win. We think it'll be narrow, and we're going for a 1-0 here. Odds of a correct score prediction of 1-0 you can get at the moment odds of 9.5 decimal. And for just the other odds as well, just to show how tight the bookies think it'll be, 3.3 for a Werder Bremen win, 3.6 for a draw. Draw might not be a bad option for this one, but yeah, we're going for an under 2.5 goals. Not as good odds on the under 2.5 goals, but yeah, we think that's how this one is going to finish up. It's going to be a tricky one, but it'll also be an interesting watch. Anything could happen, just so you're aware as well. If you're going to be watching the matches on Bet365, who broadcast all these on their live stream, geolocation and live streaming rules do apply. 18+ gambleaware.org, and do use the bonus code FP365 if you're new as a customer to them.
Yes, and in the description section of this podcast, you can see links to the matches we've just covered, or simply head to the footballpredictions.net website. There you can find the online sources to see the games from your location via streaming and TV channels, tips for different betting markets, team news, as well as the latest offers and odds.
And if you like our podcast, we do produce these football podcasts across several competitions in addition to Bundesliga, and you can hear them all at podcast.footballpredictions.net or where you normally download your favorite podcasts, including YouTube. Well, thanks very much for joining us, and until the next time, it is
cheers.
Cheers now.
Football predictions.